Greetings to you, my friends. Today is one of those days when we do some sacred reading together, and I invite you and myself to listen for what the text may speak to us in our lives, what Spirit may be trying to bring to our attention. You know, when we read the text, we want it to speak to us, and we imagine objectively. And yet, when we approach the text and listen in sacred reading, what we're believing is, in a subjective way, what I need to hear in the text will be spoken to me. If I'm open, if I listen with the ears of my heart as I'm reading the text aloud, it will say to me what I need to hear today. It might be a word or a phrase or an image that rises for me. It might teach me something I need to hear, uh, call me back from an edge that I'm on, or push me to a deeper edge. Uh, when I read the text, what I'm looking for is uh, is what Spirit may have to say right now to me. The way I do it is to read it out loud to myself, even when I'm alone. I do Lectio Divina or sacred reading by myself with some frequency. But when I do this every week, when I encourage you to do it on your own, if you wish, I encourage you to read the text aloud. It allows you to hear the text and the vibrations of the text as your vocal cords vibrate, as the inside of your head vibrates, because when you speak, you hear that, and you hear it with your ears, but perhaps you also hear it with your heart. All the texts, almost all sacred texts you might read, were originally intended to be heard, not to be read with the eyes. Most of the texts were written at a time when literacy was very low. So the possibility of reading the text was not, the average person could not do that, but they could hear it. They could hear it when they gathered, when someone told them out loud, as a part of an oral culture. So that's why I read it out loud. I find that it's most useful and helpful, and it's the way I was taught to do sacred reading, Lectio Divina. Today we turn to 1 John chapter 3, verses 16 and 17. And we're going to listen together for a word from the Lord. After I finish reading to you, you can turn this off and then just reflect to yourself. Or if you hang on after the pause, I will share my own thoughts about the text, what it spoke to me. Again, what I say is not exhaustive. It is purely what spoke to me as I was reading the text today, in this moment. Whenever you've joined us, let this text speak to you and speak to your heart. So here we go. Let us listen together for a word from the Lord. We know love by this, that he laid down his life for us, and we ought to lay down our lives for one another. How does God's love abide in anyone who has the world's goods and sees a brother or sister in need and yet refuses help? One more time. We know love by this, that he laid down his life for us, and we ought to lay down our lives for one another. How does God's love abide in anyone who has the world's goods and sees a brother or sister in need and yet refuses help? The first thing that strikes me about the text is that both of the verses could be done separately. I suppose I could go back and do that, but I'm not going to, uh, because there is so much in both verses. I always look for clues about love in a text, and this is very, very direct in speaking about love. We know love by this. Last week we learned some things about how we know love as well, but this week's love, we know love by this, that he, the chosen one, Jesus, laid down his life for us. And it doesn't leave off at that, though. I also notice, and we ought to lay down our lives for one another. So the image that rises for me in this text is that that love is given away. I've already received love, and I know love in that I've seen the willingness to give life away as a way of being loving, giving life away. And whether it is physical for me to give away my life, or whether it is to give my time, my energy, my loving nature, my words, my encouragement, as the last verse points out, my actions, that giving that in response to what I have seen, that love isn't love until you give it away. I respond by giving my love away, my life away, as a way of showing love. And I think that's the highest purpose of our lives, to love. That's what it feels like to me. It's an affirmation of what I know to be true, but a reminder that if I have the world's goods and don't help my brother in need, sister in need, then I'm not sure I really have love at all. Love is active. Love goes out. Love works in the world to make a difference. It's not a warm, fuzzy feeling I can just keep to myself. It's active. It's real. It gives itself away. And so I feel called myself to give my love away. So, dear friends, that's what I got from the text. Encourage you to read it on your own. 1 John 3, verses 16 and 17. Read it to yourself aloud. See what it speaks into your life. And remember, you are infinitely precious and unconditional.